palms towards the sun. You feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive and you don't have to be afraid.
Welcome to the Bassline. CC Blakeman is a top-notch medical freedom warrior. She is the host of the American Granddaughter Podcast. She is the co-host of the Stop the Shots nightly spaces on X, and she is an awesome friend. It is with great joy that I welcome back to the Bassline the dedicated CC Blakeman. How are you today, CC? How's life in Texas?
It is good. It's actually starting to cool off, so it's a lot better than the summertime.
Right on. So a couple quick announcements before we get into this lively discussion. The next 528 frequency jam session is going to be the last Sunday of September, this month, September 28th, at Rock Mill Fitness once again, 274 Lenox Avenue. Doors are at 3:30 p.m. The music starts shortly thereafter. The cover charge is very modest, and we ask that you join us because it's going to be so much fun. We have incredible musicians that sit in with us. We have some really funky grooves, and we have mbira, we have African percussion, and everything is tuned to the divine frequency of 528. That's the note A being tuned to 444 instead of 440, which is an inaccuracy, and that lines up the note C to equal 528, which is a divine number and a powerful healing frequency. So come soak up the healing vibes and come soak up all the fun and the joy that we're going to conjure up that day at Rock Mill Fitness. Please save the date. Please bring a friend. Also, please, if you have not already, please subscribe to my Substack for free. If you can be a paid subscriber, that's greatly appreciated, but do not let lack of funds prevent you from being at least a free subscriber to begin with. I just released an article not too long ago called James Roguski is Right. It's time to repeal the PrEP Act. And in that article, there is a link to an important petition to sign. And I hope you sign that petition because the PrEP Act is a major document in terms of setting the stage for the horrors of what we've experienced over the past 5 years. And of course, you can also support this program by buying the theme song to this program, Love's the Highest Truth. That and other original tunes are available at jeremiahhosea.com, jeremiahhosea.com. If you're a filmmaker, let me do a film score for you. I actually have produced music for an Emmy-nominated soundtrack, and I've done some scoring work, actually, believe it or not. So I want more opportunities in that respect as well. And finally, of course, I'm a chess instructor, the founder of remotelearningchess.com. Please schedule a lesson today. I would love to teach you no matter what your age or experience level. And certainly if you have young ones in the family, please sign them up for a lesson. If they know how to play, let me show them some additional theories, some additional reference points, and if they haven't learned how to play, well, let me teach them. So that's remotelearningchess.com, jeremiahhosea.com, Jeremiah Hosea on Substack, and of course the September 28th jam session at Rock Mill. Those are all the announcements, the usual stuff, but we greatly appreciate your support over here at the Bassline. It's a labor of love, and you help keep the wagon wheel rolling. So now let me shift focus to today's conversation. My good friend CC is joining me, and I would love to start, CC, by just recapping. It seems like it was just yesterday we were in beautiful West Palm Beach, and you organized this absolutely incredible event that I was honored to be a part of. Thank you so much for inviting me to co-host, and thanks for all the incredible effort you put forth to make that event happen. Tell us about the event and tell us a little bit about how hard you worked to get it off the ground, because you would not know just seeing from the looking at the final product just how much incredible toil went into making that dream a reality. So tell us all about the event and how you were able to pull that off.
Yeah, well, it was a challenge, but we did it. There was a team of four of us: Jamie Sherrod, attorney from New York; Kelly Collins, she's a paralegal here in Texas; and John Davidson, who's a producer and director out in Hollywood. So the four of us teamed up. We had this idea that we were going to incorporate all the stuff that we're being lied to about from our government, and just address all aspects, not just hospital protocol deaths or not just vaccine injuries, but we talked about election integrity. And we had some politicians there that are running for office, be governor, and congressman. And we just wanted to talk about the truth. And so we called it the Truth Movement, Thrive in 25. And just an all-star lineup of speakers. I couldn't have asked for better speakers. I mean, from journalists to doctors to attorneys to advocates. We had some J6 political prisoners that just got pardoned. Just an enormous amount of information. Dr. Judy, of course, Dr. Tenpenny. It was incredible, and it really resonated with people. Up to that night before, I was getting calls about wanting to be a part of it. And I mean, I've literally never had to turn sponsors away or vendors away. And I had to, because we were full. And so the whole movement and the whole idea, the truth movement, I think really resonated with the American people. And it's been, played, I don't even know how many times on X. I know we had 33,000 live listeners. So, and not to mention the people that were there. So we're going to replicate that again, and do it in another city coming up really soon, and try to keep that, momentum going with that event, because it was just a lot of good information. And just, the vendors were incredible. Dr. Nanda, so much is going on right now. It's we need the truth out there. We're not getting it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an incredible event to be a part of. And it was such a pleasure to meet so many phenomenal people that I've known so well, it feels, through X, but people I'd never met actually in person. I sat next to our friend John Bodwin, author of The Real CDC, one of the most important medical freedom books out there. And just got to meet, Dr. Ben Marble, Dr. Andrew Zhivjets, Julie Threet, Hurricane Shelley. Got to meet a bunch of good friends who I've been in regular communication with, but had never met in the flesh. So that was a great experience. Dr. Alan Bain got to
Even
chat
us,
with
we
him.
got to
We
meet for
and
the
we'd
first
never
time.
met, right? Right. I forgot about that. We
Yes.
met in person for the first time. So yeah, a lot of great folks that I met in person, which, it was a truly inspiring experience in that sense, because these are folks that I did consider friends in the first place, but then to actually meet your friend, it's like it is like wind beneath your wings. It made me feel very solid about the commitment I've made to this movement, and realizing, hey, it is a fact, it is official. This isn't AI I was communicating with. These are real
Right.
people that I'm proud to be in alliance with. So let's also talk about, if you could, Stop the Shots. You've been involved with Stop the Shots for months and months now. You've been an outstanding co-host and producer. And please, for one, tell folks about what we do on Stop the Shots, and please extend your invitation to join our group to the Bassline audience.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to come on our space, join the community. I think we're getting close to near 5,000 members. Um, we've got, our regular people every night, but we're getting new people stumble in, and whether they're victims or experts in one of the various fields, science or doctors or attorneys, it's just a great way to disperse information and, hear what's going on with the victims and the help that they need. I know we just heard Lindy the other night, um, who had been in the military since she was 18, and she did not want the shot, and they made her get it, or they're going to discharge her without her benefits. And she just won an award for being an outstanding sailor, served in Afghanistan, and 28 years old, she gets this jab, and now she's in a wheelchair with seizures, and just completely turned their back on her. And it was just heartbreaking. I don't think there was a dry eye in our space, but hearing that kind of information and those stories is really what puts the fuel to our movement, because that has to resonate with people. Like, this young girl's life is ruined, and something she did not even want in the first place, but was bullied by our own government. They're experimenting on our soldiers and everybody else. So, I mean, I really think that her story could be a face of trying to reform them experimenting on our military. But it's just a great community, and we've all become very close. And I think that everybody should be a part of it, even if you haven't been affected by the shot or the protocol. Just come and listen. We need everybody to be aware of what's going on. You're not going to get the truth from their media or from these lying politicians, but from everyday people just coming together on a public, town square like forum, and sharing their feelings and their thoughts and their ideas, and what we can do to reform our country. Because after yesterday, we're in bad shape.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I second that. Please join the Stop the Shots community. If you don't have an X account, I recommend you start an X account just to join the community, honestly, because when you join the community, you're signing what I call a living petition. We're a growing number of people in regular communication about these urgent matters, and we want every hand on deck possible. We want mothers and fathers to speak out. We want doctors to speak out. We want lawyers, artists, whatever you may be, whatever you may do. We need people to join this coalition. And we also do have these really rich nightly spaces where we've had incredible guests. We've had well-known doctors stop in and really take time to educate the group. We've had well-known medical freedom attorneys. We've done a lot of objectively good things, including helping to promote and launch the Thrive in 25 event that we were just talking about in the first place. That was sort of sponsored in part by Stop the Shots, in terms of us coalescing around that important event. And
yeah, we've even been like a think tank for attorneys, who are
yeah,
coming up and bringing up cases. So it's an important, we're not just in there just talking, about our days. I mean, we're doing the work that needs to be done to help stop all this and stop this death and this suffering.
yeah. And one thing I will say additionally is, of course, this is being broadcast on the Progressive Radio Network. And that's a very enlightened audience, I would say. And a lot of folks are maybe not on the grid the way the average modern person is. I know a few people who said, I don't even use email, and are kind of old school like that. And I really respect that. I appreciate that. But I would really love if there could be a synergy between Stop the Shots and the Progressive Radio Network. I think it would be great if the Stop the Shots folks knew about how much rich content is on PRN. And likewise, I would love for the listeners of this program who know me only through PRN to join this nightly conversation that's happening over on Stop the Shots. So I love when forces can come together like that. So please consider tuning in. You can just find me on X at Earth Driver, and I have it pinned to my profile. So it's right there near the top of the page if you find me on X, or just in the search engine, type in Stop the Shots, and hopefully it will come up. Although I know there is some algorithmic suppression sometimes for medical freedom folks, but you should be able to find it. And if worse comes to worse, you can email me and I'll send you a direct link, or go to my Substack and go to the article I wrote called Stop the Shots, which has a link to Stop the Shots in the article, of course. So let's talk about the horrific events of yesterday. I hate to even think about it, honestly. It was a really disgusting thing to see. But Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This, I don't know what you would call him. He's an influencer. He's a provocative figure. He's a conservative. He was a Christian. I don't know how he defined himself exactly. And I only knew him, honestly, through short clips. I was not a follower of his or a big fan of his, but I appreciated some of the stuff that I saw him him do in terms of media. He was just making people think and challenging people. And I never saw him uh, being unfair to anybody that he was debating or discussing his content with. But the man was executed. I mean, he was shot in the neck in front of thousands of people. I mean, I don't know how many people were there in total, but in Utah on a university campus, the man was killed in front of his family, if I'm not mistaken. Were his children there? Do you know? You might
I'm
know
not
more details than I do.
I'm not sure if they were or not. I hope not. I mean, watching the video was horrific. And I don't care what side of the political spectrum you stand or aisle, this should not be okay. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Um, I happen to be conservative, but I would not wish this on anyone that wasn't. And he was always respectful, and his little tagline was "Prove me wrong." He just wanted to have civil debates with people. Come up, let's debate in a healthy and respectful way. And he literally was just assassinated, and for his political beliefs or his religious beliefs. I mean, we don't know the motive yet. The killer, I think, is still on the loose. But it was very disturbing that this is where our country's come. And if we don't all come together, all parties, all religions, and say this is wrong, we have to stop this. We're in big trouble because we can't just start killing people because they think differently than we do. It's evil at the worst level. It was very upsetting to me yesterday. This one hit hard. He was
Yeah,
a
it is.
young
It's
guy.
truly disturbing. I mean, I just don't want to see a person getting killed. I mean, it's it's gruesome, it's disgusting, it's traumatic. So I can only imagine the trauma of the people who were sitting right there in person, but just seeing the video by accident, not realizing, oh, wait a second, I'm going to actually see someone get murdered right here.
Right.
It's traumatic. It will show up in your nightmares, and it's something that anyone who saw that will never forget this. And yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, if your political perspective involves executing people, assassinating people in front of the public, then you are a psychopath. You are not a good person, and you're not on the right side of history. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what Charlie Kirk said that people considered to be so offensive in particular, but I do not believe he was promoting militants, or
Not at all.
he promoted the right to bear arms in America. Um, but I know that he was an advocate for peace. I did hear a clip of him saying that he believes in peace under all circumstances and that violence is not acceptable. So it's not like he was asking for a firefight. He,
No,
yeah, I mean, he went and he challenged people to debate, and we should always be able to debate without physically harming each other. And it's truly disturbing, I do have to add, to see when people take these types of opportunities to sort of reveal their own inner violence, their own inner psychopathy,
mhm.
celebrating that someone's dead, saying, "Oh, he's a white supremacist," or "He's this," or "He's that." Um, no matter how evil someone may be, and I don't think Charlie Kirk was evil per se. I might have disagreed with him about a bunch of different things, but I wouldn't characterize him as evil. But even if someone in theory was an outright evil person, you shouldn't rejoice in murder. I mean,
No.
even if you killed someone in self-defense where you have the right to do so, it's not a joyous thing. It's not a joke at any point in time. So to make light of the destruction of the human being in that way, it's really gross. And
We've gotten desensitized to how precious life is. And it's really sad, I think, with, the years of this abortion rampant and just violence on television and in movies. We really, as a race, have gotten desensitized. And until you lose someone personally and that kind of grief, people just don't take, you know, life serious enough. It's really sad. Um, I blame it a lot on the media and video games and stuff that just get these kids thinking that you just shoot people. It doesn't matter. I mean, these are human beings. Was a father and a husband and a son, and he did not deserve that, but his legacy will live on. And I think what they did was just boost his fame and what he stood for more now. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to backfire on whoever did this.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's strange that they immediately arrested somebody and then said, "Oh, no, that wasn't the guy." So that's strange. I mean, you arrested him, you didn't notice that he didn't have a sniper's rifle. I don't know what the details were about this arrest of a person who was then determined to not be the shooter. But, why'd you arrest that guy? And then it turns out, oh, we have a similar situation as to what occurred in the Trump assassination attempt, where you have people saying, "Hey, who the heck is that guy on the roof?"
Yeah.
And it wasn't addressed by the security. You have people noticing someone who's exactly the type of threat you're looking for if you're on a security detail. Unfortunately, folks are noticing it, but those folks are not security. And yeah, I mean, that's a problem with security in general, it seems, is that you're hiring somebody to act in an effective manner when an emergency occurs, but you don't know who that is until the emergency occurs. So
Right.
it's like, oh, we didn't know you weren't a good security guard until the emergency happened, at which point you did nothing. Okay, you're fired, but unfortunately, the tragedy has already happened. So, yeah,
I think
another security failure.
we had better security at our Thrive event
Yeah, seriously.
than in the Trump or the Kirk situation. But
Yeah,
it's just
literally.
I mean, we take it seriously. But me, I'll put my tinfoil hat on. I don't trust the government, and I would not be surprised if they didn't have a part in this. All these assassinations. I think
Yeah.
it reeks CIA to me, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out. But yeah, there's a lot of things that already don't smell right. And
Yeah.
that previous shooting, there's so many now. I lose track, unfortunately. But there have been a lot of incongruities in some of these recent events that really, again, lead people to speculate, lead people into conspiracy theory, which is derided. But what can you say when incredible things happen and things that are incomprehensible happen? Well, the human mind starts to theorize. And if things are
Yeah.
conspiratorial in nature, then okay, you call it a conspiracy theory. But it's like they've turned it into a negative thing to be a person who questions, who inquires, who wants to know what's going on. I mean, just to say, "Hey, I smell a rat," you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, well, the CIA came up with that term to
Right.
call people that questioned anything, and I would say, yeah, I'm proud to be one. I'll call myself a free thinker instead of conspiracy theory. But it seems that my conspiracies have been proven true a lot. And then we had that other shooting in Denver yesterday as well. So my mind automatically goes to, okay, they're gonna look at all this gun violence. We got to take away the guns, as a move to stomp on our right to bear arms and use those things. So are they false flags? What are they? But it's kind of coincidental. And then today, being September 11th, that I didn't buy that story from jump. Um, that one, just from an engineering perspective, the buildings don't collapse like that. I've done a deep dive into that, but it's just all this stuff where it just gives me a sick feeling in my stomach that I can't trust our government. I'd immediately think it's them that are doing these harms to humanity, just with the shots and the protocol as well.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
they,
and thanks for mentioning that as well, because I don't think I mentioned that today is actually September 11th. This is
yeah,
going to be aired tomorrow. Today, I had to pre-record the program because tomorrow I will be teaching chess at the time that this program airs. So I love to do live programs, but I have to work quite naturally. So this is a pre-recorded program, and we are having this discussion on September 11th, which, yeah, that's sort of a precursor to a lot of what we've experienced during this COVID period as well. I naturally make the connection in terms of these phenomenal events that change our society forever. And yeah, a book that I strongly recommend. I have to admit, everyone, I was sort of a latecomer to the 9/11 truth movement. I did find it very strange the way these towers collapsed in their own footprint. That just didn't seem physically to make sense. Then, of course, there's building number seven,
Seven.
just collapsed, no impact from an airplane. Just, oh, I'm going to collapse too. You know,
It didn't make sense.
a lot of just really absurd things happened that just slid right under the radar of an unsuspecting public that, will take hogwash as an explanation. But what I do recommend is you look into a book that definitely opened my eyes called 9/11 Synthetic Terror, made in the USA by Webster Griffin Tarpley. And he goes chapter by chapter in a way that you'll have to say, something's not right here. I mean, the official story, that's my first so-called conspiracy theory about 9/11, is that the official story is absolute rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. I mean, one thing, for example, is you don't send someone to flight school to carry out a military operation in a plane. You hire a professional pilot, right? You don't, if I don't know how to drive, you don't say, okay, go to driver's school, and then we're going to put you in charge of a military operation where you're behind the wheel of a car. You take skilled people to execute plans of that nature. So it's like a poorly drafted story. It's just like
Yeah.
a teenager who just didn't do the writing assignment and just had to whip something up before class. I mean, there's so many aspects of it that make no sense whatsoever.
And
Um,
yet the American people fell for it, hook, line, and sinker without questioning anything. And I immediately knew there was something wrong, just like I did with COVID. I mean, I don't know if it's just a gut instinct or what it is, but my mind automatically just starts putting the pieces together. Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And then, of course, if you speak out about it, you're conspiracy theorist and you're crazy and you're disrespectful. And, so I'm used to being called all that stuff ever since 9/11. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, come at me. I don't
yeah.
care. Just because I can question things and think for myself, you know.
Well, 9/11 introduced the Homeland Security industry. And I think in a parallel way, COVID introduced the biosecurity state.
Yes.
And it's sort of a logical follow-up to the previous phase of the game. Um, so let's talk also about your phenomenal podcast, the American Granddaughter Podcast. We mentioned that in our first interview, but I want to take time to discuss that again because you've done a lot of incredible interviews, and I consider that like a sister program, perfectly adjacent to the Bassline. I, of course, love that you listen to this program and download it and share it and do whatever you can do to promote this program. But the truth is not something that I want to monopolize. I think the truth is for everyone. So if
Yeah.
people are out there challenging the status quo, if they're speaking up for medical freedom, I want you to listen to those programs as well. So just like I want you to listen to the Bassline, I most certainly want you to support, listen to, and share the American Granddaughter Podcast, because CC has been incredibly dedicated, as I mentioned in my introductory statements, and she has had a lot of incredible guests, including guests that have appeared also here on the Bassline, folks like Dr. Judy Mikovits, and who I was also honored to meet in West Palm Beach, and James Roguski, and we've shared a lot of the same guests, but also, I'm sure you've had many phenomenal guests that I haven't had a chance to interview yet. And how do people tune into American Granddaughter Podcast? Tell us about what you do over there.
Yeah, they can go to Rumble and it's under American Granddaughter 33, and you'll see about 900 videos, and it's from all the way from victim interviews, from protocol deaths to vaccine injured roundtables to experts in the field like John Bodwin and Dr. Mikovits and James Roguski and Jamie Shear, a lot of attorneys on there talking about their cases. Um, I have focused more a lot on the victim stories because I think they're important to get out. They needed a voice. So I think I've got, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of those on there. But yeah, I started it about, I guess it's been about 2.5 years ago. And I try to do one at least twice a month. It's hard to pin these down and do all this other stuff, but it's important that we, continually share each other's podcasts and radio shows and just hammer it home to the American people, because we're the only source of getting stuff to them that's the truth. Because you're not going to get it from mainstream media. So all of us, stepping up to the plate and doing this on our own time and our own dime to get these stories out, and this information out is super important, because hopefully we're saving lives when they hear, don't take the jabs, they're not real vaccines, and then they hear vaccine stories and these, horrible situations people have gotten in. So I'm proud of the work that you're doing and I'm doing and everybody in this movement. It's been an uphill battle, but I feel like we're kind of turning the corner and we're getting on offense now.
Absolutely. So actually, I want to return to that theme of getting on the offense. But before I forget, I would love for you to discuss the initiative that you and I are both a part of, which is supporting James Roguski's effort to have the PrEP Act repealed. I mentioned I just published a Substack called James Roguski is Right. It's time to repeal the PrEP Act. So if you could do me a favor, make sure you like that article, share it, sign the petition, and share it with others, because yeah, it's sometimes, I have to admit, it's a little bit frustrating to not be able to just become an avalanche. It's like my article, it has 43 likes the last I checked, and that's nice. But with this great community of the Progressive Radio Network and Stop the Shots, I really feel like we should be able to mobilize around these simple initiatives and just spread the word like wildfire. So tell us about the effort to repeal the PrEP Act and why it's so important from your perspective.
Yeah, it does get frustrating when we have these big communities and people talk about how much they want change, yet they can't take the next step to even like or share something. You can't just bitch about it, not do anything. And James Roguski has just done a tremendous amount of work building this website, repealtheprepact.com, and he has articles, and you could read the PrEP Act. If you ask 10 people on the street what they think of the PrEP Act, most of them, I bet you 10 of them are going to say they don't even know what it is. And for those of you that don't know what it is, it's a piece of legislation that was slipped into a bill during Katrina that gave blanket immunity to a covered countermeasure, and note that's a military term, that for any medication or procedure intervention that was used to treat COVID. So you could get away with murder, basically, with these deadly shots and the remdesivir protocol. Those were all covered. So if your loved one was killed by that, or you're injured from the shot, you have no legal recourse. And that is completely unconstitutional. And if your medication or your shots are safe and effective, why do you need immunity? And why are you incentivized financially to use these drugs that were already proven to be deadly? Remdesivir was a failed Ebola drug. It killed 54% of the people in the trial that had to be pulled before the trial was even over. Yet that's the only drug they used during COVID, and which killed, I don't even know how many thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. And the hospitals were financially incentivized to use it. But yet all these families that lost someone to it have no recourse against the Gilead or any of the pharmaceutical companies or the hospitals or the doctors or anybody. So it's completely unconstitutional. James Roguski does a tremendous job explaining all that. He's got PDF downloads that you can pass out. He's got images, he's memes, he's got merch. He's got all kinds of stuff where you can learn about it. Articles, 8 ways the PrEP Act violates the Constitution. So I encourage everybody to go to that, read the PrEP Act. It's 20 pages. It's not a long read. And there's nobody on either side of the aisle that could agree that this is a good thing for the American people. I mean, it's basically a government agency making a deal with a for-profit industry to write away our rights. And that, I mean, that's just on its face is wrong and unconstitutional. So educate your friends, your family, sign the petition at repealtheprepact.org. Petitions don't really do much, but we're using it to kind of mobilize people in all 435 districts so they can get together and go put political pressure and public pressure on these politicians to repeal it and sign on to Massey's bill, HR 4388, because Trump can't repeal it, and Kennedy can't repeal it. It has to be an act of Congress. So we have to get these politicians that are our federal representatives to support this bill, get it repealed, and give us back our rights to get justice for murder. It's legalizing murder, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And PrEP stands for Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness. So,
Yeah.
once again, they're going to kill you in an attempt to supposedly try to save your life. But oh well, sorry, you're dead. We tried to save your life and we have impunity to do so. And yeah, it's just a bad arrangement. And the other thing too is, we could be anarchists all we want and say, oh, I don't believe in government and this and that. But the PrEP Act was signed and it's a real document that led to real policies. So it's not going to just go away because we dream it doesn't exist. People need to be aware of this, that these documents are signed and then it affects all of society, and can even um, affect your ability to survive on the planet Earth, or the ability of your loved ones to survive. So
And
this
how
is a
about what we
serious thing.
talk about, though? How about what we talk about? The right to say no. No, I don't want that shot. No, I don't want remdesivir. I want to try this. But that right, your rights are completely taken away, and now you have no recourse to get any kind of justice because of this act. And it's the
Mhm.
Democrats that were against it in the first place, back
Right.
when it was signed, and now they're for it. And I mean, it's I don't care what side of the aisle you're on.
Yeah, I'm
It's just
so glad you said that.
unconstitutional.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because, I always argue that what we think are two parties are one party pretending to be two. And I can't think of a better example than first the Patriot Act, where Obama was supposedly a political opponent of Bush and the Republican Party, but then he promptly went into office and extended the Patriot Act. So, what's the point of being an opponent to somebody when you extend the corruption of what they put in place? And then the same thing with the PrEP Act. You have the PrEP Act set to expire in 2025 and Biden extends it. So, oh, we can't stand the Republicans except when it comes to their major legislation, which we
Mhm.
sign and we make sure that it continues.
Yeah,
So,
it's,
and
it's
then what's also fascinating is how little discussion there is about these enormous things, such as these enormous acts and the extension of these acts. You don't hear these New York Times reading, smarty pants discussing this important stuff. It's just all tabloid type of stuff. But then people think they're so intelligent as they're not mentioning these things that are so fundamental to our sovereignty, to our basic rights, to the content of our society.
yeah. I don't think I've ever heard PrEP Act on the mainstream media news,
Yeah.
because then people might figure out what it is and what it means, and not agree. But yeah, and then it's extended to 2028, and we're out of the emergency. But it's not just for COVID; it's for any Ebola or anything that they want to declare all of a sudden to
I
be
think
a public,
2029, but
or to 2029. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. But for a bunch of different so-called pandemics, they're giving immunity to these hospitals and doctors and um, pharmaceutical companies. And the pharmaceutical industry is the richest industry in the world. So we got to find out what politicians are being paid off by big pharma. You can go to opensecrets.org, look up your congressman, see if they're getting money from big pharma, and that's going to tell you a lot about where they stand with all of this and our right to say no.
right. And yeah, so let's talk about the atmosphere that we find ourselves in now, because we talk about this literally every night. I mean, we're on Stop the Shots talking about this, brainstorming, sharing our observations, trying to figure out how to move forward, how to make a difference. But we see some interesting things happening right now. I don't know how to make heads or tails of some of it, but I do want to point out I played a little clip a few weeks ago after I first heard it with Dr. Stephen Hatfill, who works for the government now. And he, in a minute and 50 seconds as a guest on the Steve Bannon show, went right down the line explaining what a horror the COVID shots have been in terms of injuring people in a wide variety of ways. I always reference Dr. Ryan Cole's description that these shots are the Swiss Army knife of injury and death, which I think is a good description from all I've
Mhm.
seen and heard. He referenced that there's a considerable amount of death that has resulted from these shots, and that we can't be perfectly certain how much death that is exactly. And he also pointed out, which is a big aspect of his statement as well, that there's no proof that these shots have helped anyone, which to me is sort of like the final straw or whatever you want to call it, that, you know, they kept lowering the bar and lowering the bar and lowering the bar until they said, oh, well, it doesn't prevent you from getting COVID, but it will reduce your symptoms if you get COVID, which is strange because they said COVID was asymptomatic in 80 to 90% of the cases in the first place. So, it just, I don't believe a word that they say. They've lied too many times. They've been fundamentally wrong about fundamental things too many times. So I just figure, I don't think there's any benefit to these shots. I think they're harmful. And for this to come out of the mouth of a government official, I find that to be a big deal. But then that leads me to the question of, why is this not being stated from a podium similar to what Anthony Fauci was granted? Why is this being stated on an individual news program, the Steve Bannon show, which immediately people say, oh, that's right wing. That's that's what do they call it? The alt-right.
Yeah, the far
That
right. Yeah,
all this kind of stuff. But it's like, but he's a government official saying a medical product that was forced upon people, injured people, and was ineffective. Why would that be transmitted to the public through partisan channels and not
right.
through a central podium similar to what was granted to Fauci? And also, I'll add quickly, why was that um something being used just to explain why funds are being withdrawn from mRNA research? And why was that not attached to the statement of the COVID shots are being pulled from the market today? Because
Right.
if you're saying this, and you're saying this based on a meta-analysis, as he put it, not a single study, but a meta-analysis compiling studies, how on earth is this stuff still being administered? But also, I do want to also make reference to the recent, and I'll say contradictory statements of Donald Trump from one to another. He made this incredible statement on the social media platform I was unfamiliar with, Truth Social, where I don't have the quote in front of me, but he said that basically a lot of people have expressed that the COVID, he didn't use the word vaccines. I don't know if he said medications or whatever. He avoided the word vaccine, but he said that there is a large group of people who say that these medicines or medical interventions or whatever were completely ineffective and harmed a lot of people. And he alluded to the fact that, wait, the COVID injections were not this marvel and this wonderful achievement that he should be so proud of. I was very surprised to see those statements made, but then distressingly, he followed that up with a criticism of the removal of medical mandates in Florida, that Joe Latipo
Okay.
said there's not going to be any more medical mandates allowed in the state of Florida. It's equivalent to modern day slavery to tell somebody that you have a right to insist that they take a medical intervention. I was so happy to hear those statements from Florida. But why on earth would Trump then turn around and say we have to be careful with removing mandates? No, we have to remove
I
all
don't like
mandates.
mandates, period.
Yeah,
We should not be mandated as a free individual in a free country to mandated to do anything that we don't want to do. I
yeah,
mean, just I don't care if it's shot or anything. Mandates need to just come off the plate altogether.
I
Um,
agree. But with
and
all
I
that said, all that I laid out there, what do you think about where we stand? This is not the same place that we were in 1 year ago. For whatever we, are still totally dissatisfied about, some things have been said that we did not hear previously.
well, yeah, and I'm completely shocked even though I am a conservative, that Trump admitted, because he's got the biggest ego, even though I am a supporter, I did vote for him, but he did say that he alluded that he was wrong about warp speed, which was shocking. I never thought I'd hear him say those words. But that was good. He was going in the right direction. And then, yeah, the Florida thing was confusing, because he shouldn't want us to be mandated to do anything. None of our leaders should have that right to tell us that we have to do something that we don't want to do, especially inject something experimental into our body. But why is it taking 5 years for these people to catch up to what we've known for 4.5? I mean, like, I started hearing injuries right when they started, and now all of a sudden they're going to come out 5 years. I mean, we, as our community and the medical freedom movement, we've known these are bad for a long time, for years. Why is it taking them so long to catch up to us? It's just really frustrating. And now that they know it, why aren't they pulled right away? And why isn't this not spoken about more on a platform where people can see it? They're sneaking them into TV shows now. Fictional TV shows are pushing the COVID vaccine on pregnant women. The research and the data is out about what it's done to, unborn children and stillbirths and spontaneous abortions and fertility. That's been known for a long time. And yet on these fictional television shows, they're giving pregnant women the COVID jabs. I mean, they're obviously being paid by the pharmaceutical company to push their products without having to disclose any kind of side effects, or that they're not safe and effective, and that they can kill your baby. And when have we ever pushed any kind of medication on a pregnant woman? I mean, we tell pregnant women, don't take anything if possible. Don't even take Tylenol if you don't have to.
Yeah.
So it's very disturbing that now they're using, just any way they can to brainwash us or get us indoctrinated that these things are good. And when they do say that hey, maybe we're wrong, it's not on a big enough platform for the rest of the country to hear it.
It's like that meme that I saw recently that said something like, an injected person telling an unvaccinated person at this point to take a COVID shot is like sending a "wish you were here" postcard from the Titanic.
That is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, I mean, one thing, but it really is, it's the truth hiding in plain sight sort of situation in terms of the uptake, the vaccine, level of participation basically in the COVID vaccine program is a straight slope down. It is a straight slope down, meaning you have 80%, supposedly 80% or so of the public got coerced, got convinced, got whatever it was, they wound up taking the shot. 80%. The first shot. By the second shot, which you're not even considered vaccinated, quote unquote, for the first go round, before you need your booster, you're not even considered vaccinated for the first go round until you've taken 2 shots and 14 days have transpired. A lot of people didn't make it to the second shot. What were the main reasons? Steve Kirsch, I remember, conducted a poll, which I think, it was pretty insightful, where the biggest reason, I remember, 30% of the people who didn't take their second shot was because of a bad reaction to the first one. Simple as that. They took the first shot, had a bad reaction, said, no, I'm not doing that again. Some people had just second thoughts about, they didn't like that they were being coerced. They felt a little bad about the way the whole thing was happening, and they stepped foot into that arena, unfortunately, of getting the first shot, and then just said, I'm opting out before shot number 2. But from booster to booster to booster, it's just a straight slope down to now you would have had 14 shots if you're totally up to date, if you stayed committed to the agenda. And what's absolutely crazy is Anthony Fauci has not taken 14 shots. Peter Hotez has not taken 14 shots. Like, I've come across some people who I find to be absolutely insane who claim that they've had 6, or maybe I even heard 7 shots. I'm trying to think, did someone I speak to actually say they have 7 shots? I've never come across someone who said they had 10 shots, let alone 14. But to me, it's just, any way you want to look at that picture, your battleship has been sunken. It's over. It's a done deal. You don't keep up with the boosters, and you're the one who was pushing this stuff in the first place. And what are you going to do? Are you going to blame that on the anti-vaxxer conspiracy theorists and claim it has nothing to do with the ineffectiveness and the harms inflicted by the product? It's untenable. And
Well,
even if, I'll just add quickly, even if you did take 14 shots and you believe in the whole thing, you have to be able to understand that someone else just did not choose to do that like you
yeah,
did. Because I didn't take any shots. I've never had COVID. I feel great.
same,
I just want to continue to feel great. And I'm going to stay
same.
away from the experimental injections. And, you do you, and I'll do me. But how could you say, oh, I took 14 shots and you should have taken not one, not two, not three. You should have taken 14 shots like I did.
I always say if your vaccine works, act like it.
Yep.
What does it matter if I took it? If you're protected, you shouldn't care about whether I'm protected or not. If especially a stranger, they're so hypocritical, and they call the injured anti-vaxxers. They're obviously not anti-vaxxers because they took the vaccine. I mean, it's
Right.
like
Right.
I'm like, do y'all hear what the words coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
It's so confusing. I'm like, no, they're not anti-vaxxers. They took the vaccine that makes them vaxxers. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
like
you
crazy.
remind me of the Eric Clapton scenario, which was informative because Eric Clapton got pressured, thought he was doing the right thing, whatever the case may be. He took the shots and had a severe reaction where some sort of neurological condition that he had treated, which he had dealt with and he hadn't been affected by in years, it came flaring back and was worse than it ever was before. And immediately the instinct was and attack his character, call him a racist. He made a racist comment in a backstage area in the 1960s. It's like, oh, you just remembered that now
I
after he said he was injured by the vaccine. But I mean, how amazing the state of utter insanity that has been induced in our society where someone's firsthand account of their own injuries is labeled misinformation on social media platforms. When someone just, I took the vaccine and this happened to me, and they get labeled as misinformation. But then furthermore, for individuals, not just Facebook and these controlled platforms, but for individuals to attack other individuals for saying, I was injured by something.
right. Can you
It's
have
like if I
compassion
got
for them?
injured in a car accident and I happen to be in a Toyota, would you launch into No, Toyotas are great cars. You couldn't have been injured.
Right, right.
It just it's outside of the realm of ordinary human psychology, I would say.
I mean, it's people have completely lost their ability to think critically and clearly, obviously, because everything they say is so contradictory or just does not connect with logic and common sense. And I think it was just such a fear campaign that they immersed on people that a lot of people just fell for it and following the sheep to slaughter. And at this point, if you don't know by now that they're bad or you want to attack somebody for being injured, go get your 14th one or whatever. And so I say survival of the fittest because
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really feel sorry for you anymore. We've been fighting this for 5 years and there's plenty of information out there. And if you
It's
don't have it,
interesting. There's Occam's razor, which
mm-hmm,
I guess I forget how it goes exactly. Occam's razor is stating that usually the most straightforward explanation is
simplest.
the correct explanation, right? Not the
Yep.
elaborate,
Yep.
sort of more elaborate explanation. Usually the more straightforward explanation is correct. But then there's also Hanlon's razor, which is um, or do not blame corruption for what can be explained with incompetence or
Right.
stupidity, basically.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a third. Maybe there's other razors that I don't know about. I know
Oh,
of
but
Occam's razor and Hanlon's razor, but there needs to be one of these razors for irony. And I've come to the conclusion the most ironic explanation is probably what's happening because we're just soaked in irony at this
we'll
point.
call it Jeremiah's razor. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good
right.
one.
Jeremiah's razor. The most ironic explanation, I
So
think,
true.
is what happened.
So true. So true. And I went from, thinking vaccine. I never took a flu vaccine or the Gardasil or the COVID. I was vaccinated as a child, but now if I was obviously too old to have a child, but if I don't vaccinate my pets anymore. I'm a vaccine absolutely abolitionist because I think all shots are not good now with what we've learned.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I've said it many times on this program, but when I started hosting the Baseline, I made it clear I'm not an anti-vaxxer. And then I graduated from that till I said, you know what? At this point, I am an anti-vaxxer. And now I've graduated from that. And I say, I'm a vaccine abolitionist at
Abolitionists.
this
Yep.
point. And there's many reasons for that. We're pretty much at the end of the program, so I can't go into my long explanation of why I would say I'm a vaccine abolitionist. But the first reason that comes to mind is that there are so many people that can give firsthand accounts of their own vaccine injuries. There's so many parents who say, we took our child in for routine, quote unquote, routine vaccines and saw their health completely destroyed right before our eyes. And there's no answer to these people. There's no justice that's been done. There's no recognition. It's this just sweeping the bodies under the rug, sweeping the devastation, into the closet, under the rug. But any system that is putting people in that position and then being so callous as to not even acknowledge those injuries, I think there's something tremendously evil going on. And then there's the fact that there are unvaccinated people. I know one good friend offhand. I wonder if I know anyone else and don't even realize it, but I know one good friend who has never received a vaccine. Her parents were old school anti-vaxxers, and she, for one, is in great health. And I know there's many people who say, my parents were anti-vaxxers, I never received a vaccine, and they're alive and well. So we have
Sounds
the
like
contrast of the injured people on the one hand who, oh, your vaccine's supposed to be safe and you're injured. And then we have the unvaccinated people on the other hand who never caught these exotic diseases and in fact seem to be doing better than the average person.
the Amish community. They don't vaccinate, and they're healthy. They don't have autism and all these weird SIDS and SADS and all these things that they just make up these names because there's really no explanation for them. It's yeah. I'm not taking another shot of any kind or anybody I know if I have a say in it from now on. Especially what we learned from Dr. Judy. And I encourage people to come to her book club on Wednesdays on X too.
Oh,
It's
great
right
point.
before
Yeah.
our space. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Judy Mikovits, a two-time guest of the Baseline, and she hosts a book club every Wednesday night before our Stop the Shots session. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time and 4 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, she is so knowledgeable. She has been in the trenches with this for a long time. So another gem that you can appreciate on Stop the Shots and our Stop the Shots community. But yeah, I'm out of time. I need to go run and pick up my kids from after school. But thanks so much for taking the time to join me, CC. Look forward
Sure.
to our ongoing effort. Hopefully, we can score some victories for our side pretty soon. But I do think people, little by little, I think people are waking up, and I think we're in a slightly better position in terms of awareness than we were even 1 year ago.
I do too. And we just got to keep on trucking until we wake up the rest of the country.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another edition of the Baseline. I will see you guys in a week. Please stay tuned and yeah, download this program, share it with your friends, help us spread the word about this growing medical freedom movement that is not going to stop until we have achieved our goal, which is actual human dignity and actual freedom here on American soil and hopefully all around the world at some point. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
When you walk with open arms towards the sun, you feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive and you don't have to be afraid of anything, 'cause you know the truth, and the Truth is love, yes it is. Wasn't what they said to you, or anything that you learn from a book or from the news. It's not like that, cause it's a thing. It is something that you do. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Dib-on baby did it long. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Dib-on baby did it long. The highest truth. Nothing could be higher than love, my friend. Love's the deepest truth. Nothing could be deeper than love, my friend. When you stop and you take the time just to think about your life, you'll recall the ones you love and the ones who were always there for you. Better thank those friends better. You better make amends. Go and tell them now, yeah, yeah. Tell them what they mean to you. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Dib-on baby did love. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Doop doo doop doo. Dib-on baby did love.